I believe in reverse racism. 3, 2, 1.
I don't know what that is.
We can explain it.
Okay, what is it?
I'll stay here before I decide.
Reverse racism is like someone being racist against you because you are white. Like, do you believe that someone can be racist against a white person?
Yeah.
I grew up where it was completely like Hispanic culture. I was constantly made fun of because I was white. Oh, white people can't dance. White people look stupid, whatever.
They shouldn't say white people can't dance, but they can't dance.
No, yeah, I
They
can't
shouldn't
dance.
say it.
Just putting that out there. But I mean, like, being honest though, like they would say those mean things to me and more hurtful things than that. It's like a hard pill to swallow because if I turned around and said, black people can't dance, I'd get hell for that. But then if someone says the same words to me, it's somehow okay because
You have to look at the difference of it though. And I relate to you. I grew up with all Latino or black friends. I had very few white friends. And yeah, I got made fun of for being like the white girl. I was gringa. And I didn't take offense to it because the huge part about racism is that there's hate and oppression behind it. And as a white person in America, I do not feel oppressed.
And I definitely think that we should take the log out of our own eyes before worrying about the sawdust in other people's. Like, I totally agree with that, but there is sawdust, so that's kind of what I'm saying.
For me, I feel like anything we do can come out racist to any other type of race, but at the same time, if they say something mean or racist to us that we feel is racist, it kind of gets brushed off.
When I think of the word racism, I think more towards oppression, so that's why I'm in the disagree. Like, I'll deal with someone just being mean to me, but whatever.
Racial prejudice and racism are not the same thing. The difference between the two is systematic power. You cannot be racist towards white people because white people hold all of the power. Because of this fact, there is a big difference between a white person being discriminatory against a person of color and vice versa. And then I look it up on fucking Google.
Just because I do not want critical race theory taught to my children in school does not mean that I'm a racist, damn it!
Yes, it does.
Reverse racism is super funny to me because it's like, in order for racism to be reversed, we must acknowledge that white people created and still uphold racism as a system in America. Reverse racism is literally just white people taking accountability. It doesn't exist, right? But the very core of it is acknowledging that racism in its purest form, not reversed, right, is inherently white people being racist to black people, because they typically when they say, oh, this is reverse racism, they're only really talking about black people. I don't really hear about it in terms of other non-black POCs. Like, I really only hear it in the context of conversations or interactions or thoughts about black people doing something or saying something.
There's basically no differences between being in the African safari versus being in Memphis or St. Louis. I compared the wildlife in Africa to Memphis, or honestly any major city for that matter, because it's literally the same thing. Just instead of animals, it's human beings who are supposed to function in a society.
You are not a minority. Stop using that to blame all your poor life choices on being a minority or being marginalized. I'm a minority. I take personal accountability. Given I don't go around in big cities murdering people or stealing or fighting others, that's a different group. You need to stop playing the victim card. I don't even do that. Okay? How do you think I felt growing up getting called Carrot Top my whole life?
Assume that because we're white, we don't experience racism. And coming from a white woman, I'm only talking about my own perspective. I can't speak for black people. I can't speak for any other race except my...
You know, about 10 years ago, my best friend, who was white, called me up. He said he had just got an account with his bank and they immediately gave him a loan. He called me because he knew that I had a better paying job and I had better credit than him. So I said, yeah, I am looking for a new car. I think I'll go check it out. I went there, I got an account, and then I inquired about a loan. Now I'm working with this older white woman, and she immediately tells me that I'm not qualified for anything. So I leave. I come back about a year later with 2 jobs this time. And I'm greeted by another older white lady. She tells me that I'm still not qualified, that she needs to see more from me. So I leave. I come back a year later, this time with the best job that I've ever had, that paid more than I had ever been paid before. Also at this time, my friend is getting his second loan on a car. She looks at everything and says that she needs to still see more. So I said, you know what, forget this. I'm going to do it on my own. So I go out and I buy my first brand new car. High interest and all. A year later, I come back to get it refinanced, and I'm greeted by a younger white woman. She takes a look and she sees everything that I've done and tells me that she just needs to see more. So I leave. About 6 months later, I decide to try one more time to get that car refinanced. This time I'm helped by a younger black gentleman. He takes a few seconds to look at everything and immediately approves me for that loan. I wonder why. Tell me as a white person when you've had any experience like that.
Maybe because I'm mentally unstable, this is actually one of my favorite topics to debate. A few months ago, I made a video on reverse racism and how it's not actually real, especially in our society built on white supremacy. But people like that guy love the idea of experiencing racism. Phyllis, she just got something out of the trash. So let me help break it down. In the US, we are a society built on white supremacy. A lot of people look at the definition of racism and they say it's simply prejudice against somebody based on their race. But actually, there's a little more to it. You need to actually have a belief that you are superior or they are inferior based on their race or your race. So if a white person says, I just don't like black people, they think black people are inferior to them. And our society confirms that for them. If a black person says, I don't like white people, there's no system in place in our society where they can use that in any powerful way. So again, to this guy, reverse racism is not a thing. And you as a white man will not experience racism in America because we are a society built on white supremacy, where no matter what class you are in, as long as you are white, you have the upper hand. Thank you.
White arrogance always gets me. Because how are you saying that because you were called Carrot Top, because you had red hair, you were called Carrot Top for, I guess, most of your childhood, you accumulate or say that that is the very same thing as someone being racist to you, as someone, being racially prejudiced towards you, as someone being, making sure that they have set a system up to make sure that you never succeed in the same country that you were born in. Because you are called Carrot Top? That is bullying. That is not racism. That is bullying. You are bullied. Call it what it is. How are you going to say that because people made fun of you, people said that white people can't dance, you are saying that that is the very same thing as racism? White arrogance is crazy to me because this is the same thing as white privilege and reverse racism. Those two things are just lost in definition for so many white people. They do not understand the difference between those two. Like, they do not understand that what white privilege actually is, and they do not understand that reverse racism can actually not exist. Because you saying that reverse racism exists, it means that you yourself, you're acknowledging that racism, like forward racism, because you cannot reverse without going forward. You had already gone forward, that's why you're reversing. So that is to you in yourself, you're already saying that, actually racism actually exists. And instead of you doing something about it, just because black people hate you, because of the years and years of the history that you have made, you and your people and your parents and your great-grandparents, and you have benefited from the backs of their parents, themselves, their great-grandparents. Literally their history is about how you guys have been complete monsters to them. Yet you're accumulating someone saying that white people can't dance to that being racism? Okay.
No black person can be a racist. It is impossible in theory and practice for a black person to be a racist in America. And quit letting people call you a racist because you speak up for your own people. Where do you have enough power and wealth and resources to tell white folk who they can marry, where they can live, and what businesses they can own and control? No black person can do that. This is what Dr. Answer, we got with Malcolm X and Farrakhan, what they're racist. No, they weren't racist. Any black person that speaks out in behalf of his own people is not a racist. He is reacting to white racism. All a black person can do is to react to white racism. He cannot be a racist. That's why I get very concerned. I hear people talking about, well, Dr. Answer, we got reverse racism. How you get reverse? Well, he's talking bad about us. He's supposed to. He's reacting to what you're doing to him. You've been beating a man to death and talking about, well, he doesn't want me to beat him anymore. He's a real racist. Well, it's a reverse discrimination. You cannot have reverse discrimination unless you got forward discrimination. If I pull a car into a garage and park the car on your foot, and while the car is in forward gear, and I start screaming in pain, say, get it off my foot. They said, well, Dr. Esther, for me to put it in reverse and back it up, that's reverse backup, but that's reverse discrimination. Or it's best for us to leave it where it is on your foot. It's stupid stuff. But black folk go along with it, you see? Hell, if it's on your foot, you get it off. I don't care what you call it, but my people are scared. I might as well let it stay on there, child. It'll be okay. God will make a way.
Hi, I'm Kylie, and no, I don't think white people can experience racism. Can white people experience hatred because of the color of their skin? Yes. But is it as severe or damaging as when people of color experience racism? No, not at all. And because there are institutional barriers to the success of people of color and systemic inequalities, racism is a stronger and more apt term for what people of color experience on a day-to-day basis. Prejudice is simply harboring negative attitudes towards somebody based on a characteristic that they can't control, which I feel is a better description of the attitudes that some people of color have towards white people. Am I going to be profiled and arrested based on the color of my skin? No. Am I going to have a harder time getting a job because of the color of my skin? No. I'm more likely to be arrested, incarcerated, or wrongly convicted because of the color of my skin, or called slurs. Like, no, I'm not. So that is why we say white people can experience prejudice, but not racism necessarily, because it diminishes the harm of actual racism by saying that white people can experience it. You don't say that men experience sexism, because they don't. Yeah, some women have hostile attitudes towards men, but it doesn't affect their day-to-day life or their opportunities or make them psychologically distressed.
I will never forget this moment. Back a few years ago, I was trying to find a job, and I interviewed at this very popular media company. I'm not going to say the name. I was connected through like a family friend. So I'm on the call with this man. He's a white man working at this black media company, but whatever, I'm mind my business. And he's like going through my resume, and he says to me, this is one of the best resumes I've ever seen in my life. So I'm like, okay, cool. I got this job. Like, my life is about to change. And then he says, I almost feel like if other people saw this resume, it would make them feel bad about their own journeys. And I was like, huh? And he continued to explain that he had basically been working the same job for 15 plus years. As soon as he graduated college, he got that job at that media company and had basically stayed there and worked his way up. And my resume was like, you know, I started my own company. I moved abroad for a year. I have 2 degrees in a creative art. I have worked at many different companies. I have done all of these different things with my career. My resume is by no means the most traditional path. You can quite literally go check my LinkedIn, and it's a lot. But when he told me that, and I'm like, you know, mid to late 20s, talking to this 40, 50 plus year old white man, and you're telling me to my face that if I allowed you into this company, your experience would intimidate people. It was the most empowering and heartbreaking conversation I had ever had with anyone at that point in my career. And another thing that it showed me was that a lot of the rejections that I thought was just oh, you're not good enough, was maybe she's too good and we don't want her in this space. And again, right after that call, I literally broke down crying, because I was like, there's absolutely nothing I can do with this information. Now that I'm a little bit older and I like sat with that truth, and as uncomfortable as it was to hear and probably inappropriate as it was to say to me, I realized that what he said is actually something I see so much in so many other spaces that I'm in. It's not oh, you're not good. It is you're too good. We don't know what to do with someone like you. And being around someone like you who has broken the mold and done so many untraditional things is an unpleasant experience for me. Something that I have tried to take away from that specific experience, and from the experiences that I continue to have that quite honestly mirror that truth, is that I can only be who I am. I have my own standards. I have my own quality and ways that I like to do things. It's going to rub people the wrong way. It is going to confuse people and make people question themselves when they see my resume as a non-traditional, self-taught person. It's going to either make people really uncomfortable or it's going to really inspire people. But neither reaction is anything that I can control. And it's honestly allowed me to kind of just free up how I present myself. I'm not trying to overdo it. I'm not trying to underdo it. I'm just trying to like be myself and be honest about the experiences that I have had. And whoever gets it will get it. Whoever wants to see what I'm doing and not misunderstand it as like, oh, she doesn't need any help. She has it all down packed. And instead see it as, I know where she's trying to go. And I'm so moved by what she's doing that I want to help her do it. Those are the kind of people that I am seeking out and I want to sit at my table. And anyone else, you can just go over there.
There is a black lady who made a very bold statement, and she said that for you to say that reverse racism actually exists, it's to mean that you actually acknowledge that there is racism in your country. You actually acknowledge that your people are actually racist towards a certain group of people. You're acknowledging it. And now, because someone was hateful towards you, they hate you because of the color of your skin, you say that that is the same as someone being racist. Like, it doesn't even make sense. I'm actually getting upset because the level of white arrogance that exists in America is crazy to me. It is so crazy. There's so many things that white people just, yell out. They go on social media, they just yell. They go on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, and they're just talking so many things that they haven't even researched about, things that they don't even know much about. They talk about how there's no word that black people cannot say that in regards to white people. The same way white people cannot say the N-word or cannot say certain words, or, take a couple of cultures here and there, that they themselves, they do not have something that black people cannot touch. Who set that system up? You set a system up to make sure that these people, you will use that word to make sure that it makes them feel as less off. That word was not, why are you acting like that word is such a good thing? You know where that word came from. It did not start yesterday. It started from the times of slavery, or even before, as those people were buying and selling slaves. That word was used, the N-word, was used to discriminate, to break people's souls and people's hearts. It's the same way as someone calling you a dog. That is what white people used to use that word as. Like you're calling someone just something just to make them feel bad or less of a human. But you, because black people have taken it and they have chosen to use it as a cool slang, because it's what black people are. Black people take bad things and they turn it into something beautiful. It's within ourselves. I don't know what to tell you. That's just who we are. We have a light. We are positive people. Everything we touch turns to gold. It is what it is. That's who we are. And now because we have taken something that you used to hurt us and changed it into something that we only can use, we only can celebrate, we only can say and use in music, in our day-to-day lives, in making jokes, in comedy, all these things. Now you want a part in it, and you're becoming upset that you can't say that word. Do you know where that word came from? You're saying that white people do not have a word that black people cannot say. Then create one. Would you rather go through slavery so that you can have something outside of what black people have had to endure from your people? Is that what you prefer? You prefer going through slavery? Would you like black people to enslave you so that you can have that experience, so that you can have your own words, your own culture, your own community, where you do certain things that black people are not supposed to touch? Because if I remember correctly, because I've read about history, it's literally what I have been taught, and I have done my own research. Your people invaded Africa and many other countries around the world, took and still taking to date, still taking. You're still taking and taking and taking and taking. And you want to demonize black people for having pride in the fight that they have fought to where they are right now, where they are living good lives, where they are becoming billionaires, millionaires, where they are blossoming and flourishing. They have their own businesses. They are supporting each other in their own way. You want to demonize that. You want to inhumanize it and make it about white people. Why are white people always in black people's businesses anyway? At the end of it, like, black people will be minding their own business. Then someone on TikTok is like, you know what? Just because I got bullied, that means that was racism. Huh? Just because someone said white people can't dance, or just because someone said white people are not allowed to do this or that, or you are actually just bullied as a white kid, you're calling that do you understand what racism is? And like I said in the beginning of the video, that is the same as privilege. Most white people do not understand what white privilege is. You tell a white person that the reason as to why you are the way you are is because of white privilege, they're like, oh, I was born poor. What are you talking about? What? Have you gone to school? Have you learned? Do you have a phone? You can Google these things and understand what they mean. Can you go on Google and understand what white privilege is? Can you go on Google and understand what reverse racism is? For you to say reverse racism exists, it's to mean that racism actually exists and you don't want to do anything about it. The only thing you want to do is make yourself feel better and stop these people that you used to control. You want to stop them from hating you or treating you a certain way so that you can make yourselves feel better because a certain group of people do not like you. Yet you're doing nothing to make sure that these people actually get compensation for the work that they have done for the country that you live in, the country that you call your own, the country that you keep on telling them to move out of. You have done nothing to make sure that these same people are compensated the way they're supposed to, because America was built on the backbones, on the blood, sweat, and tears of black people. And I know you will disagree, but okay, you can argue with the wall because we can't argue. Yeah, argue with your ancestors. Go on into a library, just go and find that out. It is what it is, you know? And it's upsetting that up to now, like, there are so many white people who do not even understand so many things. They don't understand why black people have rage sometimes when it comes to addressing certain issues. Why black people even walk out of conversations because they're not understanding what kind of nonsense we're talking about. You know, you can have a conversation with a black person and you ask the silliest and most silliest of things. You just say some silly thing and they're like, what? And I just wake up and walk away. Because there are so many things that white people have chosen to be arrogant about, and white people have chosen to limit their kids about. We have seen a woman crying, saying that she does not want her kids to be taught about slavery, racism, and the things that are actually happening in the country that she lives in. And she says that I am not a racist just because I don't want my kid to be taught about history that actually happened. Not make-believe, something that actually happened, something that was done by her people. She says that she does not want her kids to learn about it. Yet, black kids have to be taught about that from when they have to start reading. You're taught how to walk, talk, how you're supposed to dress, how you're supposed to behave in public settings. But a white kid is more special. And yet, you say, obviously, reverse racism does not exist. There's a man who has talked about getting a loan, which he waited for like 3 years. And there's no white person who can say that that has ever happened to them. The only reason as to why we are even having this conversation is because so many white people do not understand so many of the meanings of so many words, which is crazy and it's arrogant. It just shows the arrogance and the ignorance of so many white people. But we have also seen that there are white people who actually acknowledge that, you know what, yes, I do have white privilege. I do live in a country that gives me privilege. I get to have things that a certain group of people cannot have or are not allowed to have. I do have these things that certain people are not allowed to experience, to have, to do. I do get a job that I'm sure a black person will be given hell before they are given that job. I do understand that I do get these things and black people do not get it. There are white people who are actually taking accountability, and they're saying that these are things that actually happen to them. And I do love that there are some white people who actually take accountability, and they say that they want to see black people flourish. They want to teach white people about history, about facts about their history. They want to teach white people about discrimination, what white privilege is, just teach them about so much about their history and black people culture and their own, where they're from, because they are not from America, they're from Europe, they stole that land. You cannot tell people are immigrants to a country that you're immigrants to. You cannot chase people away from a country that you stole. It doesn't make sense, you know? And I do love that there are white people who are learning the same way there are black people who are continuously, teaching each other how to deal with certain situations, because not all situations deserve your energy, honestly. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this particular topic. What do you think about the people who have spoken in this video, and probably what I've said as well? I'd love to hear your comments about it. I'd love to interact with you in the comment section below. Kindly make sure to comment. If you'd like to support me, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link down in the description. Any contribution will be truly appreciated. If you'd love to see me again, kindly make sure you subscribe, like, and share, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.